New START nuclear treaty was flawed, says senior U.S. official. U.S. and Iran hold talks amid fears of direct conflict. Norwegian crown princess apologizes for her Epstein contacts. Canada, France to open consulates in Greenland amid ongoing U.S. threats. 31 killed in suicide bombing at Islamabad mosque. A senior U.S. official has criticized the now-expired New START nuclear arms treaty, calling it inadequate for modern security challenges. Thomas G. DiNanno, the U.S. Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security, said the agreement was flawed because it did not cover the full range of nuclear weapons and excluded China, despite Beijing's expanding nuclear capabilities. Speaking in Geneva a day after the treaty expired, DiNanno emphasized that these gaps limited the pact's effectiveness and highlighted structural weaknesses in its design. Senior U.S. and Iranian officials are holding high-stakes talks in Oman as tensions between the two countries fuel fears of a direct military confrontation. The discussions follow a major U.S. military buildup in the Middle East after Iran's violent crackdown on nationwide protests reportedly left thousands dead. While both sides hope the talks could open the door to broader negotiations, deep mistrust remains, and the discussions are believed to be indirect. Washington is demanding that Iran freeze its nuclear program and dismantle its enriched uranium stockpile, while also pushing to address Tehran's ballistic missile program, regional alliances, and human rights record. Iran, however, insists the talks focus strictly on nuclear issues and has rejected limits on its missile capabilities or support for allied groups. Oman confirmed its foreign minister held separate meetings with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Presidential Advisor Jared Kushner to prepare the ground for renewed diplomacy. Mette-Marit, Crown Princess of Norway, has issued a public apology after renewed scrutiny over her past contacts with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a statement, the Crown Princess said she was sorry to everyone she had disappointed and expressed regret for placing the Norwegian royal family in a difficult position, especially King Harald V and the Queen. She admitted she showed poor judgment and should have investigated Epstein's background more thoroughly. Recently released documents revealed hundreds of references to Mette-Marit, including email exchanges and a 2013 stay at an Epstein-owned property in Florida. She acknowledged that some of the messages do not represent the person I want to be. The royal palace says she plans to explain the situation in greater detail, but needs time to gather her thoughts, describing her as being in a very difficult situation. The controversy comes as her son, Marius Borg Høiby, faces trial in Oslo on multiple charges, further challenging the image of Norway's widely respected royal family. Mette-Marit is married to Håkon, Crown Prince of Norway, the heir to the throne. The fallout has widened beyond the palace. Norway's Economic Crime Authority has also opened a review into whether former Prime Minister Thorbjorn Jagland received gifts, travel, or loans linked to Epstein. Greenland is seeing a growing diplomatic presence as Canada and France move to open new consulates, a step widely viewed as support for Denmark amid heightened geopolitical interest in the Arctic. Anita Anand, Canada's foreign minister, traveled to the capital, Nuuk, to inaugurate Ottawa's consulate. Officials say the mission will strengthen cooperation on climate change and Inuit rights. She was joined by Governor-General Mary Simon. Meanwhile, France appointed Jean-Noël Poirier as Consul General, making France the first European Union country to establish a consulate general on the island. Paris said his role will focus on expanding cultural, scientific, economic, and political ties with Greenland's local authorities. The diplomatic moves come as Donald Trump has repeatedly argued the United States should control the mineral-rich Arctic territory for security reasons. Although he recently stepped back from takeover threats after reaching a framework understanding with Mark Rutte, a new U.S.-Denmark-Greenland working group has been created to address Arctic security. A deadly suicide bombing has struck Pakistan's capital, leaving dozens dead and many more injured in one of the most serious attacks on the city in recent years. AI male news anchor style, simplified. At least 31 people were killed and over 130 injured after a suicide bomber targeted a Shiite mosque in the Tarlai area of Islamabad, Pakistan, shortly after Friday prayers. Officials say the attacker was stopped at the mosque gate before detonating the explosive, but the blast still caused devastating casualties. Authorities warn the death toll could rise. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack and vowed that those responsible would be brought to justice, while Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar called it a, quote, heinous crime against humanity. No group has claimed responsibility so far. However, the bombing comes amid escalating militant violence across Pakistan, where security forces are battling insurgent groups near the Afghan border. Shiite Muslims, who make up roughly 10 to 15% of Pakistan's population, have frequently been targeted in sectarian attacks.